What if we could pull back the curtain of the sea? It's a fantasy that has captivated the human imagination for centuries. A thought experiment of immense scale. What if we could, with the flip of a switch, drain the oceans? To peel away the blue veil that covers over 70% of our planet and gaze upon the raw, unfiltered truth of the world beneath. We imagine shipwrecks, of course. Thousands of them, from ancient galleons to modern supertankers, resting in their final graveyards. But the true secrets are far older and far more profound. We would see not just the relics of our own history, but the history of the Earth itself. Colossal mountain ranges that dwarf the Himalayas, canyons that make the Grand Canyon look like a scratch in the dirt, and vast, sprawling plains that were once home to creatures, cultures, and entire civilizations now lost to time and tide. To understand how, we must look back, not hundreds, but thousands of years. During the last great ice age, colossal glaciers, miles thick, held a vast portion of the Earth's water captive. Sea levels were as much as 120 meters, or nearly 400 feet, lower than they are today. The world's coastlines were radically different. Lands that are now submerged were then dry, fertile, and inhabited. Consider the North Sea. Today, a turbulent and shallow body of water separating Great Britain from mainland Europe. But 10,000 years ago, it wasn't a sea at all. It was a landmass known to archaeologists as Doggerland. This was Europe's forgotten heartland, a vast, low-lying plain crisscrossed by rivers, dotted with lakes and teeming with life. Herds of mammoths and reindeer roamed its gentle hills, and our Mesolithic ancestors hunted and fished along its riverbanks. For centuries, fishermen in the North Sea have dredged up evidence of this lost world. Ancient tools, the bones of extinct animals, and even human remains. They are echoes of a thriving landscape, a world that was slowly, inexorably swallowed by the sea. As the Ice Age ended and the planet warmed, the great ice sheets melted. Over thousands of years, the sea began to reclaim the land. For the people of Doggerland, it would have been a slow, generational catastrophe. The coastline would have crept inland, year after year. Hunting grounds would become marshes, then tidal flats, then gone forever. Around 6200 BC, a catastrophic submarine landslide off the coast of Norway, known as the Storegga Slide, triggered a massive tsunami that washed over what little remained of Doggerland, delivering the final devastating blow. A whole world vanished beneath the waves. The story of Doggerland is a scientifically proven reality, but it taps into one of our most enduring myths, the legend of the lost city of Atlantis. First described by the Greek philosopher Plato, Atlantis was a utopian island civilization of immense power and sophistication, which angered the gods, and was submerged in a single day and night of misfortune. For millennia, explorers have searched for it, a quest fueled by the romantic notion of a perfect society lost to the sea. While Atlantis itself remains a myth, its story inspires a very real question. Are there other, real cities sleeping in the deep? The answer is a resounding yes. Off the coast of southern Greece, lying in just 3 to 4 meters of crystal-clear water, is Pavlopetri. Discovered in 1967, it is the oldest known submerged city in the world. This is no mere collection of ruins. It is a complete town, with streets, 2-story houses with gardens, temples, a cemetery, and a complex water management system. Spanning at least 5,000 years of history, from the Bronze Age to the end of the Mycenaean period, Pavlopetri was a thriving maritime trading post. Its inhabitants were weavers, farmers, and skilled potters. But above all, they were sailors, connecting the mainland with the island of Crete and the wider Mediterranean world. Unlike the myth of Atlantis, Pavlopetri wasn't destroyed in a single cataclysm. It was likely a combination of earthquakes that caused the land to subside, coupled with the slow rise of the sea that gradually claimed the city. It is a snapshot of ancient life, preserved almost perfectly by the gentle embrace of the sea. But sometimes, the end is far more sudden and dramatic. For over 1,000 years, the city of Thonis Heracleion was thought to be a legend, mentioned only in a few ancient texts. It was the gateway to Egypt, a bustling port city where all Greek ships were required to enter the kingdom. Then, in the year 2000, a team led by French underwater archaeologist Frank Goddio made a staggering discovery in Aboukir Bay, near Alexandria. Finding these lost worlds is no longer a matter of chance. We have developed technological senses that allow us to see through the water. It begins with multibeam sonar, a system that sends out a fan of sound waves from a ship, which bounce off the seabed and return. By measuring the time it takes for the echoes to come back, computers can create incredibly detailed, three-dimensional maps of the ocean floor, revealing anomalies that might indicate man-made structures. Once a promising site is identified, the next step is to send in the explorers. Remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, are our robotic eyes and hands in the deep. Tethered to a ship, these submersible robots can withstand immense pressure and explore for hours on end, sending back high-definition video from the crushing darkness. They allow archaeologists to survey vast areas and identify key targets for human divers. It was this combination of sonar mapping and ROV investigation that pinpointed the location of Heraklion. And what they found was beyond imagination. Not just a few scattered ruins, but the entire city, preserved in silt and sand. Colossal statues of pharaohs and gods, dozens of ancient ships, gold coins, and the central temple of Amun-Gareb. The city had been built on unstable delta sediments. A combination of an earthquake and soil liquefaction likely caused the ground to turn to liquid, and the entire city, with its temples, statues, and homes, slid silently into the sea around the 8th century AD. It was a cataclysm that erased a metropolis from the map, hiding it for 200 years. From the prehistoric plains of Doggerland to the Bronze Age port of Pavlopetri and the grand Egyptian gateway of Herakleion, the story is the same. The ocean is not just a void, it is a museum, the world's largest and most mysterious archive of our collective past. These discoveries force us to redraw our maps of the ancient world, to reconsider the capabilities of our ancestors, and to recognize the awesome, destructive power of nature. We don't need to drain the oceans to reveal their secrets. With science as our guide and technology as our torch, we can now venture into the abyss and bring these lost worlds back into the light. And the most tantalizing thought of all is that these incredible finds are likely just the beginning. With 95% of the ocean floor still completely unexplored, we have to wonder, what other cities, what other civilizations, what other stories are still out there, waiting in the silent, patient dark for us to find them? In the tranquil turquoise waters of the Bahamas, just off the coast of North Bimini Island, lies a mystery that has captivated explorers, scientists, and dreamers for over half a century. Submerged beneath just 20 feet of crystal-clear water, an arrangement of massive, flat-lying limestone blocks stretches for nearly half a mile into the blue haze of the Atlantic. Known as the Bimini Road, its discovery in 1968 ignited a firestorm of speculation that continues to burn to this day. Could this mysterious underwater structure be evidence of an ancient lost civilization? For many, the answer pointed to one legendary name: Atlantis. The modern story of the road begins not with an archaeologist hunting for ruins, but with a zoologist, oceanographer, and man of eclectic interests, Dr. J. Manson Valentine. While on a dive, he and his companions encountered what appeared to be a vast, submerged pavement of rectangular and polygonal stones. The sheer scale and apparent organization of the formation were staggering. It didn't look like a random scattering of rockfall from a nearby cliff. It looked deliberate, purposeful. It looked, to its discoverers, like a road or the foundation of a massive wall. The news spread like wildfire, but what turned this intriguing discovery into a global phenomenon was its uncanny connection to a prophecy made decades earlier by the famed American psychic, Edgar Cayce. In the 1930s, Cayce, while in one of his self-induced trances, had predicted that evidence of the lost continent of Atlantis would be discovered near Bimini between 1968 and 1969. He spoke of rising temples and stones from the sea. For believers and followers of Cayce's work, Valentine's discovery was not a coincidence. It was the direct fulfillment of that prophecy. The Bimini Road was not just a geological curiosity, it was a tangible remnant of Atlantis itself. This tantalizing connection transformed the site overnight. Expeditions, many funded by Casey's own Association for Research and Enlightenment, flocked to Bimini, hoping to uncover definitive proof of a lost world. And the stones themselves seemed to whisper tales of a sophisticated prehistoric culture. They are colossal, with some individual blocks measuring up to 13 feet in length and weighing several tons. They appear to be fitted together with a precision that, at first glance, seems to defy natural processes. The main formation runs in a remarkably straight line for hundreds of yards before making a distinct curve, a J shape, strongly reminiscent of a man-made breakwater or harbor wall. Was this the entrance to an ancient Atlantean port, a structure built to protect the shores of a civilization ultimately lost to the waves? Proponents of the man-made theory point to a wealth of seemingly compelling evidence. Beyond the overall structure, they highlight the squared-off, almost dressed appearance of many of the blocks. While millennia of erosion and marine growth have weathered their surfaces, the underlying geometry feels intentional. Some researchers have even claimed to find tool marks, grooves, and notches that suggest the stones were quarried and shaped by intelligent hands. Furthermore, they point to the presence of what appear to be prop stones or wedges placed underneath some of the larger blocks, as if to level them on the uneven seabed. This is a sophisticated technique seen in megalithic constructions across the globe. Another intriguing and highly debated claim is that of a multi-layered construction. Some divers and researchers have reported finding a second, and in some cases even a third, layer of similarly shaped stones beneath the main visible layer. If true, this would be incredibly difficult to explain as a natural phenomenon, and would strongly suggest a more complex and robust structure than a simple single-course pavement. The argument is one of cumulative evidence. The straight lines, the right-angled corners, the consistent thickness of the blocks, the J-shaped curve, the potential tool marks, and the possibility of multiple tiers. When viewed together, it paints a picture not of geological chance, but of architectural design. However, for every argument for artificiality, the scientific community has presented a powerful and elegant counter-explanation rooted in geology. The prevailing scientific consensus is that the Bimini Road is a spectacular but entirely natural phenomenon known as beach rock. Beach rock is a type of sedimentary rock that forms in the intertidal zone, the area between high and low tide. It's created when sand, shells, and other carbonate grains are glued together by calcium carbonate that precipitates from the seawater. This process can happen relatively quickly, geologically speaking, forming large, flat slabs of rock right on a shoreline. The key to the mystery, geologists argue, lies in what happens next. As this massive slab of beach rock is subjected to stress, from seismic activity, the relentless power of storms, or even its own immense weight, it fractures. And it doesn't fracture randomly. It breaks along natural jointing patterns, often creating remarkably straight lines and right-angled intersections. This process, called tessellated fracturing, results in a pavement of blocks that looks deceptively man-made. Dr. Eugene Shin, a renowned marine geologist formerly with the U.S. Geological Survey, has been a leading voice for this explanation. His team has conducted extensive fieldwork, including taking core samples directly from the Bimini stones. These cores reveal a composition and internal structure perfectly consistent with beach rock. They contain shells and other materials native to the local environment, and radiometric dating of these materials shows the rock itself formed between 2,000 and 4,000 years ago. Crucially, the dating indicates the rock formed in place, right where it is today, as a single solid shoreline feature. It was then fractured by natural forces and submerged by the rising sea levels that have occurred since the last ice age. The beach rock explanation is compelling and accounts for many of the road's features. The age of the rock, for instance, places its formation thousands of years after the time frame Plato gave for the sinking of Atlantis, which was around 9600 BC. Yet the debate is far from settled in the minds of many. Critics of the natural origin theory ask, if it's a common formation, why aren't there more Bimini roads in the Bahamas, an area ripe for beach rock formation? They argue that the Bimini Road's sheer size and distinct J-shape remain unique. Could there be a middle ground? Is it possible that the formation is fundamentally natural beach rock, but that it was modified by an ancient people? Perhaps they found this naturally fractured pavement and moved or shaped the stones to better suit their needs, enhancing a natural breakwater or creating a ceremonial path. This would explain both the natural origin of the rock itself and the seemingly artificial arrangement. After more than 50 years of investigation, the Bimini Road remains an enigma. It is a place where science and myth collide, where geological fact is challenged by the persistent allure of a lost world. Is it a simple, albeit spectacular, trick of nature? Or is it a weathered and worn signpost, a final, faint message from a forgotten chapter of human history waiting beneath the waves? The stones themselves remain silent, guarding their secrets in the shifting Bahamian sands, leaving us to wonder. In the vast, shimmering expanse of the Atlantic, where the water shifts from impossible turquoise to profound sapphire, lie secrets. For millennia, the ocean has been both a cradle of life and a keeper of forgotten histories, its depths guarding stories we are only just beginning to decipher. We are drawn to its mysteries, to the tantalizing possibility that beneath the rhythmic pulse of the waves, remnants of a world long lost to us are waiting to be rediscovered. And in the shallow, sun-drenched waters of the Bahamas, a discovery was made that could rewrite the very first chapter of human civilization. Our journey takes us to Bimini, a chain of islands at the northwestern edge of the Great Bahama Bank, a place known more for its big game fishing and tranquil beaches than for earth-shattering archaeological finds. It is a paradise on the surface, a place where time seems to slow down. But in 1968, just half a mile off the coast of North Bimini, in water barely 20 feet deep, a pilot flying overhead spotted something that defied easy explanation. A perfectly linear arrangement of massive, flat stones stretching for nearly half a mile along the seafloor. It looked deliberate, it looked ancient. It looked, for all the world, like a road. This is the story of the Bimini Road, a submerged enigma that forces us to ask a profound question. Could this mysterious underwater structure be evidence of an ancient, lost civilization? The discovery sent shockwaves through the worlds of archaeology and esoteric history, not least because it seemed to fulfill a prophecy. The famed American psychic, Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, had predicted decades earlier that evidence of the lost continent of Atlantis would be discovered in 1968 or 69, specifically near Bimini. For believers, this was not a coincidence. It was destiny made manifest. The man who brought the formation to the world's attention was J. Manson Valentine, a zoologist, archaeologist, and curator at the Miami Science Museum. On September 2, 1968, while diving with a team, he encountered the structure firsthand. He described it as a well-made pavement of rectangular and polygonal flat stones of varying size and thickness, fitted together in a mosaic pattern. The initial impression was overwhelming. The scale, the apparent precision, it all pointed towards a deliberate, man-made construction. Was it a road, a ceremonial walkway, or perhaps the foundation of a massive seawall, a breakwater protecting a long-vanished harbor? The possibilities were as breathtaking as the structure itself. A closer examination only deepens the intrigue. The Bimini Road, or Bimini Wall as it is sometimes called, is composed of two parallel features running roughly northeast to southwest. The main, more prominent line consists of colossal limestone blocks, some measuring up to 13 feet across. They are roughly rectangular, with rounded corners, a feature proponents of an artificial origin attribute to millennia of water erosion. The stones are laid out with an uncanny regularity, forming a path that curves gently into a J-shape at its southern end. The sheer size of these blocks evokes the cyclopean masonry of ancient sites like Mycenae in Greece, or Sacsayhuaman in Peru, where massive stones were fitted together with astonishing precision, a feat that baffles engineers even today. Proponents of the man-made theory point to several key pieces of evidence. They argue that the blocks appear to be of a uniform thickness and rest on smaller, supporting pillar stones in some areas, suggesting they were deliberately placed and leveled. Furthermore, Some researchers claim to have identified markings on the stones consistent with tool use, as well as mortise and tenon joints, a sophisticated woodworking technique applied to stone. Perhaps most compellingly, some sections of the road appear to be multi-tiered, with a second layer of equally massive blocks resting directly atop the first. This layered construction, they argue, is almost impossible to explain through any known natural process. It suggests a level of engineering and planning that speaks of a sophisticated culture. And for many, that sophisticated culture could only be one: Atlantis. The legend, first recorded by the Greek philosopher Plato in his dialogues in around 360 BC, tells of a mighty island empire located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. Plato described Atlantis as a naval power of unparalleled wealth and advancement, a utopian society with magnificent temples and canals, which, in a single day and night of misfortune, was swallowed by the sea after a failed invasion of Athens. For centuries, Atlantis was considered a mere philosophical fable, a cautionary tale about hubris. But the discovery of the Bimini Road gave the legend a new, tangible dimension. Could Plato's story have been a distorted memory of a real Bronze Age civilization that possessed advanced maritime technology? While Plato's geographical clues point towards the mid-Atlantic, the Caribbean location of Bimini, combined with Casey's prophecy, created a powerful narrative. The road became the physical anchor for a myth. It was seen as a potential remnant of the vast infrastructure of this legendary empire, a surviving piece of a world that vanished beneath the waves some 11,000 years ago, according to Plato's timeline. The idea was intoxicating, that here, in the clear waters of the Bahamas, lay a direct path back to the most famous lost civilization of all time. However, as the initial excitement gave way to rigorous scientific inquiry, a very different story began to emerge. One written not in myth, but in stone and time. Geologists who studied the formation proposed a far more mundane, yet equally fascinating explanation. They identified the stones of the Bimini Road not as quarried and transported blocks, but as a natural phenomenon known as beach rock. Beach rock forms in the intertidal zone, where ocean spray and tidal fluctuations cause calcium carbonate to precipitate from the seawater, cementing loose sediment like sand, shells, and pebbles into a solid slab of rock, parallel to the shoreline. According to this theory, what we see today is simply a relic of an ancient coastline. Thousands of years ago, when sea levels were lower, this beach rock formed along the shore of a larger Bimini island. As sea levels rose, the formation was submerged. Over time, the immense solid slab of rock began to fracture under geological stress and the relentless power of the ocean. It cracked along natural lines of weakness, known as joints, creating the remarkably straight edges and rectangular shapes that so closely mimic cut stone blocks. The rounded corners are not the result of erosion on once sharp blocks, but are the natural outcome of this fracturing and weathering process. The side-by-side comparison is striking. Modern beach rock formations around the world exhibit the exact same blocky, pavement-like patterns. This geological explanation is supported by significant evidence. Core samples drilled directly from the Bimini Road blocks show that their composition is identical to the local geology. They are not foreign stone transported from elsewhere, but are native to the location. Crucially, the samples reveal that the blocks are not resting on a different seabed material. Instead, they are continuous with the bedrock beneath them, proving they were not placed there, but formed in situ. Furthermore, radiocarbon dating of the shells found cemented within the rock provides a timeline. The results consistently date the formation of the rock to between 2,000 and 4,000 years ago. This timeline presents a major problem for the Atlantis theory. It is thousands of years Plato's Atlantis supposedly sank, and it places the road's creation well within the scope of known human history, a time from which we have no other records of such monumental construction in the region. For the majority of the scientific community, the case is closed. The Bimini Road is a spectacular example of natural geology, a geological illusion that plays on our desire to find order and intention in the chaos of nature. And yet, the mystery endures. While the beach rock theory elegantly explains the general formation, a few stubborn anomalies keep the debate alive. What about the sections that appear to be 2 layers deep? Geologists suggest this could be a simple case of one fractured slab sliding over another, but the neatness of the arrangement remains puzzling. What of the smaller stones that appear to be deliberately wedged underneath the larger blocks, as if to prop them up and level them? Could these be coincidental placements, or do they hint at intelligent modification? Researchers dedicated to the artificial origin theory argue that the scientific consensus dismisses these inconvenient details too quickly. They point to other submerged structures found nearby, including other linear paths and geometric arrangements that are harder to explain away as simple beach rock. The prevailing counter-argument is that even if the formation is fundamentally natural, it doesn't preclude the possibility that ancient peoples discovered this proto-road and modified it for their own purposes, perhaps enhancing it to create a functional quay or breakwater for their vessels. This would explain both the natural origin of the stone and the hints of deliberate arrangement. It's a tantalizing middle ground, suggesting a collaboration between nature's artistry and human ingenuity. In the end, the Bimini Road exists in a fascinating space between geological fact and enduring legend. Whether it is a pathway to a lost continent or a magnificent trick of the tides, its power lies in the questions it forces us to ask. It is a mirror reflecting our deepest curiosities about our own past and the vast, undiscovered country that lies beneath the surface of the sea. As we gaze upon these silent sleeping stones, it is difficult not to imagine a different time, a time of great ships and a thriving port, a time when this now silent pavement echoed with the footsteps of a people lost to history. Perhaps the truth is not a simple choice between nature and artifice, but a more complex story we have yet to fully comprehend. For now, the road remains, holding its secrets close, waiting in the blue silence for the next wave of discovery. Off the coast of Japan's westernmost island, Yonaguni, lies a secret entombed by the sea. A silent, colossal structure rests on the ocean floor, a geometric anomaly in a world shaped by chaos and current. It presents as an ancient pyramid, a series of immense stepped terraces rising from the depths. The water here is a deep, unforgiving blue, often churned by powerful currents that have guarded this place for millennia. For centuries, local fishermen spoke of a submerged palace, a legend dismissed as folklore. But in 1986, a chance discovery would drag this myth from the realm of fantasy into the stark light of scientific debate. The structure is undeniably there. Its monolithic stones, sharp angles, and sheer scale defy easy explanation. It poses a question that echoes through the silent water. Was this magnificent architecture carved by the patient, indifferent hand of nature? Or is it the last remnant of a lost civilization? A ghost city swallowed by the waves. An ancient pyramid-like structure lies at the bottom of the ocean. But who built it? The story begins with Kihachiro Aratake, a local dive tour operator. While scouting for new dive sites to observe hammerhead sharks, he stumbled upon something that would change his life, and potentially our understanding of ancient history. Below him, stretching for nearly the length of a football field, was a breathtaking formation of sandstone and mudstone. It wasn't a random jumble of rocks. He saw what appeared to be a vast, flat terrace, flanked by enormous, near-perfectly tiered steps. It looked, for all the world, like a sunken stadium or a ceremonial platform. The location itself is significant. Yonaguni Island is the final outpost of the Ryukyu archipelago, closer to Taiwan than to mainland Japan. This remote position places the monument at a crossroads of ancient maritime routes, a place where currents, cultures, and perhaps even continents once met. Initial sonar scans and bathymetric mapping revealed the true extent of the formation. It wasn't just one structure, but a complex of related features spread over an area of 300 by 150 meters. The main monument, now known as Iseki Point, or Ruins Point, rises a staggering 27 meters, nearly 90 feet, from the seabed. Its sheer size is difficult to comprehend, a mountain of stone that seems to have been deliberately shaped. Descending into the world of the Yonaguni Monument is like entering another dimension. The water is often clear, but the sheer depth casts everything in a spectral blue light. As a diver approaches, the first thing that materializes from the gloom is the main terrace, a massive, flat platform. Torch beams rake across its surface, revealing a texture that seems almost worked. The edges are shockingly straight. From this main platform, one can explore a labyrinth of features that have been given evocative names by the divers who first charted them. There is the Loop Road, a pathway that encircles the main structure, bordered by what looks like a low stone wall. Then there's the Stadium, a plaza-like area with stone bleachers rising on one side. Perhaps most uncanny is the Turtle, a separate 5-meter-long rock formation that bears an uncanny resemblance to a giant sea turtle. Is it a masterful piece of pareidolia, our brain's tendency to see patterns in randomness? Or is it a deliberate effigy carved by ancient hands? As divers navigate these underwater avenues, they pass through narrow channels, some so straight they've been dubbed the Archway. The experience is profoundly disorienting. The geology feels architectural. The environment feels artificial. Every corner turned reveals another right angle, another flat plane, another feature that screams design. For many geologists, however, that scream is merely a whisper of coincidence. The prevailing scientific consensus leans towards a natural origin. Dr. Robert Schoch, a geologist from Boston University, was one of the first Western scientists to dive the site. While initially intrigued, he concluded that the monument is the result of natural geological processes. The rock type is key to his argument. The monument is composed of sandstone from the Miocene Yaeyama group, a type of rock known for its tendency to fracture along straight, parallel bedding planes. Schoch argues that the region's intense tectonic activity, this is one of the most seismically active areas on Earth, could easily have created the large blocky fractures. Once fractured, the relentless power of the ocean takes over. The Kuroshio Current, one of the strongest in the world, sweeps past Yonaguni, carrying abrasive sand and debris. Over thousands of years, this powerful erosion could have scoured the fractured sandstone, smoothing flat surfaces and carving out the step-like terraces. The right angles? Simply the natural result of the rock splitting along its inherent vertical and horizontal fault lines. To the geological eye, the monument is a spectacular, but ultimately natural, pseudo-archaeological site, a textbook example of how nature can mimic human craftsmanship on a grand scale. But for every argument for nature, there is a compelling counterpoint. Professor Masaki Kimura, a marine geologist from the University of the Ryukyus, has spent over 2 decades diving and mapping the site. He is firmly convinced that Yonaguni is man-made, or at the very least, terraformed, a natural feature that was significantly modified by human hands. Kimura's evidence is in the details that he believes geology alone cannot explain. He points to what he identifies as 2 post holes, circular indentations in the rock that he argues would have held wooden pillars for a structure. He has identified a series of smaller, parallel grooves that he interprets as drainage channels, carved to control water flow. He also highlights a large, star-shaped carving on one of the terraces, which he believes is not a natural erosion pattern. Furthermore, Kimura's team has discovered what they claim are smaller stone tools in the vicinity, though their direct connection remains unproven. Perhaps his most compelling argument lies in the sheer concentration of unusual features. While one straight line might be a geological fluke, Yonaguni presents a dense collection of them. For Kimura, it's a simple matter of probability. The odds of all these architectural elements forming naturally in one place are, in his view, astronomically low. If Kimura is right, the implications are staggering. This is where the story plunges from a geological debate into the abyss of prehistoric mystery. Geologists on both sides of the argument agree on one thing. Based on established sea level change models, the Yonaguni monument was last above water at the end of the last ice age, approximately 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. 2. If it was built by humans, it was built then. This timeline shatters our conventional understanding of the ancient world. 10,000 BC is the very dawn of the Neolithic period. Human society was thought to consist of small, scattered bands of hunter-gatherers. The Great Pyramids of Giza wouldn't be built for another 7,000 years. The existence of a civilization capable of quarrying, shaping, and erecting a monument of this scale during that period is simply not accounted for in our history books. It would mean that a highly advanced, organized society existed, built a sprawling stone complex, and then vanished without a trace, their greatest achievement submerged by the rising seas as the glaciers melted. This is the theory of a lost Pacific civilization, a Japanese Atlantis, sometimes linked to the mythical continent of Mu. It's a narrative that captures the imagination, suggesting a forgotten chapter in the human story. Today, the Yonaguni Monument remains an enigma, caught between the rigid lines of geological science and the tantalizing possibility of a forgotten history. Is it a natural wonder, a geological masterpiece sculpted by tectonics and tides? Or is it the tombstone of a civilization we never knew existed? The Japanese government has not officially recognized the site as a man-made cultural property, and UNESCO has so far declined to list it as a World Heritage Site, citing the lack of definitive proof. Yet divers continue to flock here, drawn by the profound mystery. They glide through the silent blue corridors, their torch beams tracing lines that seem too straight, too perfect. They swim over terraces that feel like ancient plazas, and look up at steps that seem to lead to a long-vanished sky. Each bubble that rises to the surface is like an unanswered question. The ocean is a patient keeper of secrets, and for now, the truth about the silent stone city of Yonaguni remains its most profound possession. The evidence is there, etched in stone, but its meaning is lost to the depths, waiting for a final verdict that may never come. Ancient Hindu texts speak of a magnificent city lost beneath the waves, a golden metropolis, the capital of a divine king, a place of unimaginable splendor and prosperity. For millennia, this story was considered pure myth, a foundational tale whispered through generations, a beautiful but fanciful legend. But what if the whispers were echoes of truth? What if the legend was a memory, eroded by time but not entirely erased? In the turbulent azure waters of the Arabian Sea, off the westernmost coast of modern-day India, a series of discoveries were made that could fundamentally challenge the boundary between mythology and history. And now, after decades of searching, we may have found it. This is the story of Dwarka, the sunken city of Lord Krishna. It is a quest that takes us from the pages of sacred scriptures to the depths of the ocean floor. A journey that blurs the line between faith and fact, legend and archaeology, and forces us to ask, could one of the world's greatest epic tales be rooted in a tangible historical reality? The story begins over 3,000 years ago, in the epic age of the Mahabharata. Lord Krishna, a central figure in Hinduism and an incarnation of the god Vishnu, faced a relentless enemy. Jarasandha, the powerful king of Magadha, had attacked Krishna's ancestral home of Mathura 17 times. Although Krishna and his people, the Yadavas, had repelled every assault, the constant warfare was taking its toll. To safeguard his people from the endless cycle of violence, Krishna made a momentous decision: to abandon the battle-scarred lands of the north and establish a new, impregnable capital. He sought a sanctuary, a place of peace and prosperity, far from the reach of his enemies. The scriptures say he chose a stretch of coastline in the westernmost part of the country, in what is now the state of Gujarat. This land, however, was not empty. It had to be reclaimed from the sea itself. Krishna invoked Samudra, the personification of the ocean, who graciously receded, offering up 12 yojnas of land. To build his new city, Krishna summoned the one being capable of such a feat: Vishwakarma, the divine architect of the gods. At Krishna's command, Vishwakarma raised a city from the ocean that was said to be the envy of heaven itself. It was called Dwarka, meaning the gateway. A fitting name for a city that would become a portal to prosperity and spiritual enlightenment. The ancient texts, such as the Harivamsa and the Bhagavata Purana, paint a vivid and detailed picture of this metropolis. Dwarka was a masterpiece of urban planning, a fortified city laid out on a precise grid. It was protected by high walls and deep moats, with grand gateways that welcomed traders and pilgrims from across the known world. Its streets were wide and orderly, lined with lush gardens, serene lakes, and vibrant public squares. At its heart stood 90,000 magnificent palaces, said to be adorned with gold, silver, and shimmering precious jewels. The most spectacular of all was Krishna's own palace, a structure of breathtaking beauty that radiated a divine aura. The city was not just a fortress. It was a thriving cultural and economic hub. Its ports bustled with ships from distant lands, and its markets overflowed with exotic goods. But the true jewel of Dwarka was the Sudharma Sabha, a celestial assembly hall where matters of state and justice were discussed with profound wisdom and unwavering fairness. For 36 years, Dwarka flourished under Krishna's rule, a beacon of righteousness, wealth, and harmony. But all golden ages must come to an end. The great Mahabharata war had concluded, and with it, a great era of humanity. A terrible curse, pronounced by the sage Gandhari, befell the Yadava clan, leading to internal strife, arrogance, and their eventual, tragic self-destruction in a drunken brawl. With his work on earth complete and his people gone, Krishna prepared to depart from his mortal form. As he left the world, the ocean, which had once graciously given land for his city, rose up to reclaim its own. The scriptures describe a terrifying cataclysm. The sea churned and swelled, and in a single day, the magnificent Dwarka, with all its golden palaces, bustling streets, and cherished memories, was swallowed by the waves. It vanished from the face of the earth, leaving behind only a powerful and enduring legend. For centuries, the story of Dwarka remained confined to sacred texts and the unwavering faith of devotees. The modern city of Dwarka, with its famous 16th-century Dwarkadish temple, was revered as the site of Krishna's ancient kingdom. But was there any physical evidence of the original, submerged city described in the epics? The question tantalized historians and archaeologists for decades. The first serious scientific quest to answer this question began in the mid-20th century, spearheaded by a man who would become a legend in his own right, Dr. S.R. Rao, a distinguished and highly respected archaeologist with the Archaeological Survey of India. Rao was renowned for his groundbreaking work on the Indus Valley civilization, particularly his discovery of the port city of Lothal. He was a proponent of the idea that ancient Indian texts, often dismissed as mere mythology, contained genuine historical kernels and geographical memories. He hypothesized that if a city like Dwarka existed, it must have been a major port, and traces of it could still be found. His initial excavations were on land, near the current Dwarkadish temple. There, he unearthed evidence of earlier settlements, pushing the history of the area back by centuries. But the real prize, the city Krishna built, was said to be underwater. This presented an entirely new and daunting frontier for Indian archaeology. Marine archaeology was in its infancy, a challenging and expensive endeavor. The Gulf of Kutch is notorious for its powerful currents, poor underwater visibility, and unpredictable weather. Searching for a lost city here was like looking for a needle in a haystack that was constantly moving. In the early 1980s, Dr. Rao and his team from the Marine Archaeology Unit of the National Institute of Oceanography took the plunge. Armed with the best technology of the day, side-scan sonar, echo sounders, and a small team of courageous divers, they began systematically surveying the seabed off the coasts of Dwarka and the nearby island of Bet Dwarka. The work was painstaking and often frustrating. For days, the sonar equipment painted a picture of a seemingly unremarkable seabed, a landscape of sand and rock. Then, something appeared on the screens, faint, geometric lines, patterns that seemed too regular, too structured to be natural. The team had found a target. Divers descended into the murky, challenging depths, their lights cutting through the gloom. What they found was astonishing. Spread across a vast area were the unmistakable signs of a submerged settlement. They discovered massive, well-dressed stone blocks, some arranged in what looked like the foundations of towering walls. They traced long, linear structures that resembled fortifications, bastions, and jetties. The layout appeared to be that of a planned city. with distinct sectors and enclosures, just as the ancient texts had described. The discoveries were not just structural. As the explorations continued over several seasons, the divers began recovering a treasure trove of artifacts that provided a tangible link to the past. Among them were numerous triangular and grapnel-shaped stone anchors, some weighing hundreds of kilograms. This variety suggested a busy port that harbored ships of various sizes, from coastal vessels to larger ocean-going dhows. They found pottery, identified as lustrous redware, which helped in dating the site. But perhaps the most significant and evocative find was a small rectangular seal, intricately carved with the image of a three-headed animal, a composite of a bull, a unicorn, and a goat. This type of seal, mentioned in the Harivamsa as a royal insignia given to the citizens of Dwarka by Krishna himself to prove their identity, was a stunning piece of corroborating evidence. For Dr. Rao, the puzzle pieces were falling into place. The location, the sheer scale of the settlement, the nature of the artifacts, and the uncanny parallels with the descriptions in the Mahabharata all pointed to one electrifying conclusion. They had found the legendary Dwarka of Lord Krishna. The announcement of the discovery sent shockwaves through the academic world and ignited the public imagination. For many, it was the ultimate proof that their sacred stories were rooted in historical fact. But the scientific community is built on skepticism and the need for rigorous proof. And the claims about Dwarka were met with intense debate that continues to this day. Dr. Rao dated the site to between 1700 and 1500 BCE, based on pottery styles and thermoluminescence dating of artifacts. This timeline fit perfectly with the traditional dating of the Mahabharata era. However, other archaeologists and geologists raised critical questions. Could these underwater stone structures simply be natural formations? The geology of the region includes sandstone that can fracture in geometric right-angled patterns, potentially mimicking man-made walls. Critics argued that more extensive geological surveys were needed to definitively rule out natural origins. The dating was also challenged. Some scholars argued that the lustrous redware pottery found could belong to a much later period, closer to the early historical period around the 7th century BCE, rather than the Bronze Age. The interpretation of the site as a single, massive, planned city was also questioned. Was it one large city, or a series of smaller separate settlements from different time periods that were being conflated into one grand narrative? The central point of contention remains the leap from ancient submerged port to Krishna's Dwarka. While the evidence strongly points to a significant ancient settlement, directly linking it to a specific figure from an epic poem, without clear inscriptional evidence naming the city or its king, is a step many historians are unwilling to take. The debate is a fascinating clash between archaeological evidence, textual interpretation, and the powerful pull of faith. While scientists debate, for millions of Hindus, the underwater ruins are a profound affirmation of their faith. Dwarka is one of the 7 most ancient and holy cities in India, the Sapta Puri. It is also a cornerstone of the Char Dham pilgrimage, a sacred journey to the 4 cardinal points of India that every devout Hindu hopes to make in their lifetime. The modern Dwarkadish temple, believed to stand where Krishna's personal palace once was, draws millions of pilgrims each year. They come to worship, to feel a connection to the divine, and to walk on land made holy by Krishna's presence. For these pilgrims, the discovery of the submerged city is not a matter of scientific proof. It is a miracle. It transforms a beloved story into a tangible reality, bringing their God's life out of the realm of myth and into the physical world. The story of Dr. Rao's discovery is now woven into the local lore, told by priests and guides, further cementing the site's spiritual importance. It serves as a powerful reminder that the ocean of time may hide many secrets, but the ocean of faith holds its own unshakable truths. So, what is the final verdict on Dwarka? Is it the golden city of Krishna, a historical reality miraculously rediscovered after 3 millennia? Or is it a fascinating but ultimately unproven archaeological site, onto which a powerful and ancient legend has been projected? Perhaps the true significance of Dwarka lies not in a definitive answer, but in the quest itself. The search for Dwarka is a journey into the heart of India's identity, where myth, history, and spirituality are inextricably intertwined. Whether a city of stone or a city of faith, Dwarka endures, a timeless symbol of divine splendor, lost and found, forever captivating the human imagination. The world we see today is but a fleeting moment in geological time. Coastlines we think of as permanent are, in reality, constantly shifting. Beneath the cold, gray waters of the North Sea, a vast and forgotten world lies buried. Lost rivers, ancient forests, silent hills, entombed by millennia of sand and silt. This was not always a watery grave. Long ago, this realm was a thriving heartland, a bridge between Britain and mainland Europe. A place teeming with life, mammoths, giant deer. Our own ancestors made their homes, unaware the sea would claim it. Imagine a time, maybe 10,000 years ago, as the last great ice age loosened its grip. The air is crisp and cool. A family of hunter-gatherers moves through a sparse birch woodland, their footsteps soft on the mossy ground. They are tracking a herd of aurochs, rolling tundra giving way to verdant grasslands, gentle river valleys, a rich and bountiful land, a Mesolithic paradise. They knew its every stream and secret hollow, knowledge passed down through generations. This sunken country was a crucial artery for life in ancient Europe, not merely an empty space but a destination in its own right, a crossroads for animals and humans, great rivers that flowed from the continent, Rhine, Meuse, Thames, abundance of food, fish in the rivers, great beasts of the plains, supported a significant population. The idea of a lost world beneath the North Sea is not a new one. For centuries, fishermen have dredged up strange and ancient things in their nets. They have found the bones of mammoths, woolly rhinos, magnificent antlers of extinct giant deer, and, most remarkably, tools and weapons. Each barbed harpoon point carved from bone, each flint arrowhead, tangible proof of a forgotten chapter in our story. This lost territory has been given a name, Doggerland. Doggerland, after the Dogger Bank, a shallow sandbank in the North Sea, long known to fishermen. It is often called the Stone Age Atlantis, and for good reason. Like the mythical island described by Plato, it was a prosperous land that disappeared beneath the waves. But unlike Atlantis, Doggerland is not a myth. It is a scientifically proven reality, a prehistoric world being painstakingly pieced together by archaeologists and geologists. It represents one of the most significant submerged landscapes on Earth, a testament to the dramatic power of climate change to reshape our planet and erase entire civilizations from memory. Doggerland was, at its peak, a vast and sprawling plain. It stretched from the east coast of Britain, the Netherlands, Germany, Denmark. It was not a single, uniform environment but a complex mosaic of different habitats. Low-lying hills, dense woodlands, expansive marshes, wide, slow-moving rivers that created a rich and varied ecosystem. This diversity of life is what made it so attractive to our Mesolithic ancestors. They were not simply passing through, they were settled here, building communities and developing a unique culture adapted perfectly to this specific environment. A culture we are only now beginning to understand through the fragments they left behind. The end of Doggerland was brought about by one of the most powerful forces on our planet: climate change. As the last ice age waned around 18,000 years ago, the colossal ice sheets that had covered much of North America began to melt. Scandinavia began to melt. This was not a gentle thaw but a colossal release of water, which poured into the world's oceans. For millennia, sea levels rose steadily and relentlessly. At first, the changes were subtle. The coastline of Doggerland would have receded slowly, almost imperceptibly, year by year. Low-lying areas would have become marshier, and coastal settlements would have been forced to move inland. The process of inundation accelerated dramatically over time. What began as a vast, continuous landmass slowly became a collection of smaller islands. The central plains of Doggerland transformed into a giant bay, a maze of tidal creeks and saltwater marshes. For the hunter-gatherers, this would have been a profoundly disruptive change. Their traditional hunting grounds for large land animals would have disappeared, forcing them to adapt. They would have become more reliant on fishing, fowling, and gathering coastal resources. Then, around 6200 BC, a truly catastrophic event occurred. A massive underwater landslide known as the Storegga Slide took place off the coast of Norway. An enormous section of the continental shelf, the size of Iceland, collapsed into the ocean, triggering a gigantic tsunami. This colossal wave would have swept across the North Sea, crashing into the remaining low-lying coasts and islands of Doggerland with unimaginable force. Any coastal communities would have been utterly devastated, washed away in an instant. This single event may have dealt the final fatal blow to the heart of Doggerland, transforming it from a fragile archipelago into a fully submerged seabed. The drowning was now almost complete. Britain itself was now an island, its physical link to Europe severed for the first time in millennia. The disappearance of Doggerland was not just a geological event, it was a profound human tragedy, a story of displacement and migration on a massive scale. The people of this drowned world became refugees of climate change. Their story is a powerful prehistoric parallel to the challenges faced by coastal communities today, until the sea came and claimed it forever. In the cold, dark depths of the Baltic Sea, nearly 300 feet below the surface, lies an enigma. A strange object was discovered at the bottom of the Baltic Sea, and to this day, no one truly knows what it is. It's a mystery that combines the allure of ancient history, the excitement of science fiction, and the hard realities of deep-sea exploration. The story begins not with a deliberate search for the unknown, but with a hunt for something far more common in these historic waters: treasure. In the summer of 2011, Swedish oceanographers Peter Lindberg and Dennis Osberg, leaders of the Ocean X team, were doing what they do best: searching for shipwrecks. Their vessel, the Angelus, was methodically scanning the seabed between Sweden and Finland, a region littered with the ghosts of maritime history. They were hoping to find the remnants of a century-old shipwreck, rumored to be carrying a priceless cargo of champagne. Their primary tool was a state-of-the-art side-scan sonar, a device that paints a picture of the seafloor with sound waves. For days, the screen showed nothing but sand, silt, and the occasional cluster of rocks. It was routine, almost monotonous work. And then, something impossible appeared. A massive, perfectly circular object materialized on their monitor. It was unlike any natural formation they had ever encountered. It was 60 meters or nearly 200 feet in diameter, roughly the size of a jumbo jet. The team was stunned. In all their years of scanning the ocean floor, they had seen countless strange rock formations, but nothing like this. This was different. It was symmetrical. It seemed designed. Lindberg would later describe the feeling in that moment. You're out there for 10 days, you're tired, and then you see this. It's not a shipwreck. It's not a rock. It's something else. The initial image was so clear, so distinct, that it immediately sparked a debate that continues to this day. The shape was so reminiscent of a certain famous sci-fi vessel that it quickly earned a nickname: the Millennium Falcon. The sonar data revealed more than just a circle. The object appeared to be raised about 10 to 13 feet above the surrounding seabed, resting on a large pillar or pylon, giving it a distinct mushroom-like profile. Its surface wasn't smooth. It was etched with lines, ridges, and features that defied geological explanation. There were what appeared to be stairways, perfectly straight corridors, and right-angled corners. Perhaps most intriguingly, the sonar data showed a long, gouged-out track in the seabed leading directly to the object, stretching for over 300 meters, or nearly 1,000 feet. It looked for all the world like a skid mark, as if this colossal object had crash-landed, plowing through the ocean floor before coming to a rest. The discovery went viral. The image of the Baltic Sea anomaly captivated the public imagination. Was it a sunken UFO, a previously unknown natural phenomenon, or perhaps a remnant of a long-lost ancient civilization? The Ocean X team knew that sonar images alone wouldn't be enough. They had to go back. They had to see it with their own eyes. A year later, after securing funding, the team returned to the site, this time equipped with remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, and a team of divers. But as they positioned their ship directly over the anomaly, something bizarre happened. Their electronic equipment began to fail. Satellite phones cut out. Cameras refused to work. The ROV's controls became erratic. As Dennis Osberg explained, anything electric out there, and the satellite phone as well, stopped working when we were above the object. And then we got away about 200 meters, and it turned on again. And when we got back over the object, it didn't work. This strange electronic interference only deepened the mystery. It suggested the object was emitting some kind of energy field, a property not associated with any known natural rock formation. The divers who braved the cold, dark water described an eerie scene. The object was dark, almost black, and covered in a thin layer of silt. It felt like stone, but it was curved and shaped in ways that seemed artificial. They confirmed the presence of the strange geometric features seen on the sonar, including a circular hole on the surface that divers described as looking like a hatch. They managed to collect several samples from the object's surface. The analysis of these samples would be crucial. The world waited for a definitive answer. When the results came back, they only added more fuel to the fire. The samples were identified as basalt, a type of volcanic rock. But here's the problem. The Baltic Sea is not a volcanic region. Basalt is not a rock that should be found on that particular seabed. Furthermore, initial reports from a lab in Israel claimed the samples contained limonite and goethite, metals that are not typically found in their natural state together. This led to speculation that the object was not a rock at all, but a metallic structure of some kind that had been on the seabed for thousands of years. This is where the scientific community began to split into factions, and the first major theory emerged, that the anomaly is simply a rare, but entirely natural, geological formation. Geologists like Volker Bruchert from Stockholm University argue that the entire story has been sensationalized. He analyzed samples provided by the Ocean X team and concluded they were nothing more than common rocks. He suggests the anomaly is likely a glacial deposit, a rock dropped by melting glaciers at the end of the last ice age. He dismisses the circular shape as a coincidence and the sonar readings as potential artifacts of the equipment. Some have proposed it could be a pillow basalt formation or a manganese nodule, but these explanations struggle to account for the sheer scale, the perfect symmetry, and the metallic properties reported by the team. And most importantly, the geological explanation has no answer for the electronic interference or the 1,000-foot drag mark. This leads us to the most popular and tantalizing theory, that the Baltic Sea anomaly is a crashed extraterrestrial vehicle. Proponents of this theory point to a mountain of circumstantial evidence. The shape is the most obvious clue, bearing an uncanny resemblance to the flying saucers of classic sci-fi. The 1,000-foot drag mark is interpreted as clear evidence of a crash landing, not a slow-moving glacier. The electrical interference is seen as the smoking gun, the residual energy from a damaged or dormant alien power source. The basalt samples, with their unusual metallic composition, could be the slag or outer hull of a craft that experienced extreme heat upon atmospheric entry. Ufologists suggest the staircase and hatch are not geological quirks, but functional components of a vehicle. Could it be that an alien ship, perhaps thousands of years ago, suffered a catastrophic failure and plunged into what was then a shallow sea or even a frozen lake, only to be hidden for millennia as the waters rose? It's a wild theory, but one that, for many, seems to fit the strange collection of facts better than any other. A third theory offers a middle ground between geology and science fiction. Perhaps the anomaly is not from another world, but from a lost chapter of our own. This theory posits that the object is a man-made structure, a relic from a highly advanced ancient civilization that existed before the last ice age. Proponents of this idea, often called pseudo-archaeologists, suggest that 12,000 to 14,000 years ago, when sea levels were much lower, this area might have been dry land. The structure could have been a temple, an astronomical observatory, or a central monument. Its circular design is common in ancient ritualistic sites. The runway might not be a skid mark, but a ceremonial causeway. This would make the Baltic Sea anomaly one of the most important archaeological discoveries in human history, evidence of a civilization lost to time and floodwaters. However, mainstream archaeology and history find no evidence for such a civilization in this part of the world. Finally, there is a more modern, terrestrial explanation. The Baltic Sea was a strategic hotbed during the Cold War. It was a playground for Soviet and NATO submarines. This has led to the theory that the anomaly could be the remains of a top-secret Cold War-era military device. Perhaps it was a sophisticated anti-submarine defense system, a sonar jamming device, or a base for a defensive net. Its large, robust structure and potential to interfere with electronics would certainly be useful in naval warfare. The object could have been built elsewhere, transported and lost during deployment, explaining why it seems so out of place. This theory accounts for the artificial appearance and the electronic interference, but it struggles to explain the apparent age. The samples collected suggest the object has been down there for a very, very long time, far longer than the Cold War. In the years since the discovery, the controversy has only grown. Many mainstream scientists have dismissed the entire affair, accusing the Ocean X team of being treasure hunters, not scientists, and of sensationalizing their findings to attract media attention and funding for more expeditions. Skeptics argue that the sonar images are prone to misinterpretation, the electrical failures were likely just equipment malfunctions, and the rock samples are geologically unremarkable. They claim the team has been unwilling to share all of its data and samples for independent verification, casting a shadow of doubt over their extraordinary claims. The Ocean X team, in turn, maintains that they have been unfairly dismissed by a scientific community that is unwilling to consider evidence that challenges established paradigms. They stand by their data and their first-hand experience, arguing that what they found is truly unique and demands further investigation. And so, the Baltic Sea anomaly rests in the silent darkness, a 200-foot-wide question mark on the ocean floor. It is a perfect mystery, a Rorschach test for the modern age. If you are a scientist, you see a glacial deposit. If you are a ufologist, you see a crashed saucer. If you are a historian, you might dream of a lost city. Each theory has compelling points, and each has fatal flaws. The truth remains elusive, locked away beneath 300 feet of cold water. Without a new, heavily funded, and fully transparent scientific expedition, we may never know for sure. Is it a simple rock, a piece of forgotten history, or a visitor from the stars? The Baltic Sea keeps its secrets well. In the heart of the Andes, straddling the border of Peru and Bolivia, lies a sea in the sky, Lake Titicaca. At over 3,800 meters above sea level, it is the highest navigable lake on Earth, a vast expanse of sapphire water that has been the cradle of civilizations for millennia. To the ancient peoples of this region, it was not merely a body of water, but the center of the cosmos, a sacred space from which life itself emerged. For centuries, local legends have whispered of more than just water and reeds. They speak of a time when the lake's shoreline was different, of great stone structures and even an entire city, now lost to the silent, icy depths. According to the most sacred Inca myths, it was from this very lake that the creator god, Viracocha, emerged to form the sun, the moon, and the stars. It was here he created the first humans. Later, the sun god Inti sent his own children, Manco Capac and Mama Oclo, to rise from the waters and found the great Inca Empire. These are the foundational stories of an entire culture, all rooted in the profound mystery of Titicaca. But beyond these creation myths, another, more tangible legend has persisted. The story of Wanaku, a great city of stone, a pre-Inca metropolis that was supposedly submerged by a cataclysmic flood, a punishment from the gods. For generations, these tales were passed down, dismissed by the outside world as folklore, the romantic imaginings of a people clinging to a mythic past. But what if the legends were true? What if a lost world was waiting to be rediscovered, slumbering just beneath the waves? The allure of a submerged city proved irresistible to explorers. In 1968, the legendary oceanographer Jacques Cousteau brought his research vessel, the Calypso, and a pair of mini-submarines to the high Andes. His expedition was a monumental undertaking, battling the logistical challenges of operating at extreme altitude. For weeks, his team scoured the lake bed, their submersibles piercing the murky darkness. They found ancient pottery, some dating back centuries, evidence of a long history of human activity. But of a city, they found no trace. The legend, it seemed, would remain just that, a myth. For decades, the secrets of the lake remained undisturbed. The deep, cold water, combined with the physiological challenges of high-altitude diving, created a formidable barrier. The mystery of Wanaku faded back into the mists of folklore. Then, at the turn of the millennium, a new chapter in the quest began. An international scientific expedition, named Atahualpa 2000, arrived at the lake armed with technology Cousteau could only have dreamed of. Led by Italian archaeologist Lorenzo Epis, the team employed a systematic, high-tech approach. Using advanced side-scan sonar and GPS positioning, they began to meticulously map the lake floor in an area long pointed to by local lore. For weeks, they charted the depths, translating sound waves into a digital picture of the world below, and then they saw it, not as myth, but as data. On their screens, clear as day, a series of massive, unnatural shapes began to emerge from the noise. The sonar revealed long, straight lines, right angles, and enormous rectangular forms, patterns that nature does not create. The team had found something extraordinary. The data pointed to a huge complex, far larger than a single building. The legend of Wanaku was suddenly, shockingly, real. Now came the most dangerous phase, the human exploration. Diving at 12,500 feet is a perilous endeavor. The thin air requires a longer acclimatization period, and the risk of decompression sickness is exponentially higher. The water itself is frigid, barely above freezing, and visibility is often limited to just a few feet. Every minute spent in the deep is a calculated risk, but the promise of what lay below was too great to ignore. The divers descended into the silent blue-black world, following the coordinates from the sonar map. Beneath Lake Titicaca, ancient ruins slumber. As the divers' lights cut through the gloom, the digital ghosts from the sonar screen materialized into solid, breathtaking reality. Stone walls, covered in centuries of sediment, rose from the lake bed. The scale was staggering. They had found not just a building, but a sprawling ceremonial center. The centerpiece was a colossal temple, a sacred wall stretching nearly 800 meters long. Nearby, a stone-paved road, a pre-Hispanic causeway almost a kilometer in length, ran along the lake floor, a ghostly path leading to the heart of the complex. Divers uncovered a submerged temple complex of immense proportions. Further exploration revealed what appeared to be agricultural terraces, similar to those seen at Inca sites like Pisac and Ollantaytambo, suggesting a settled population that farmed the slopes of what was once a hillside. The entire site spanned several square kilometers. This was no small shrine. It was a planned, monumental landscape, engineered with incredible sophistication, and then swallowed by the lake. The team had discovered a lost world, a testament to a civilization whose ambition and power were now laid bare on the lake floor. The question immediately became, who built it? The initial assumption was the Incas, whose empire dominated the Andes when the Spanish arrived. But as archaeologists examined the structures and artifacts, a more ancient and mysterious picture began to emerge. The style of the stonework, the precision-cut blocks fitted together without mortar, was characteristic of the great Andean civilizations. However, some of the ceramics and the very nature of the site pointed to an even older culture, one that reached its zenith long before the Incas rose to power, the Tiwanaku. The Tiwanaku civilization, which flourished from roughly 500 to 1000 AD, was centered just 12 miles south of the lake. They were master architects and engineers, and the ruins of their magnificent capital city still stand as a testament to their power. Could this submerged complex be part of their domain? The most compelling evidence came from the offerings. In carefully constructed stone boxes, buried as ritual deposits, the divers found remarkable artifacts. One contained a delicate, exquisitely crafted figurine of a llama, carved from spondylus shell, and another held a small, solid gold llama. These were not everyday objects. They were sacred offerings, gifts to the powerful deities believed to reside in the lake. The style of these artifacts, particularly the ceramics found with them, strongly suggested they were of Tiwanaku origin. This discovery was revolutionary. It meant the sacred history of the lake was far older than the Incas, and that the powerful Tiwanaku Empire had a significant, monumental presence, not just beside the lake, but within it. The ruins were not Inca, but belonged to their powerful predecessors. This raised another profound question. Why did this sacred place end up underwater? Was it the result of a single, catastrophic flood, as the Wanaku legend suggests? Or was it a more gradual process? Most geologists and archaeologists now believe the lake's level has fluctuated dramatically over the centuries due to long-term climate cycles. The evidence suggests that around 1000 AD, a prolonged period of drought caused the lake to recede significantly, perhaps by as much as 17 meters. This would have exposed vast new shorelines, offering fertile land for farming and new ground for building. It was likely during this low-stand period that the Tiwanaku people constructed their magnificent ceremonial complex. Then, over the following centuries, the climate shifted again. The rains returned, and the lake began its slow, inexorable rise, gradually reclaiming the land and submerging the stone temples, terraces, and roads, preserving them in a cold, dark, watery tomb. The legend of a great flood wasn't entirely a myth. It was a cultural memory of a real, albeit gradual, environmental transformation. For the Aymara and Quechua people who live on the shores of Titicaca today, these discoveries are not just a matter of historical curiosity. They are a profound affirmation of their ancestral knowledge and oral traditions. The legends their grandparents told them, the stories of a city beneath the waves, have been vindicated by science. The lake, which they have always revered as a living entity, a powerful deity, has been proven to hold the very foundations of their heritage. The submerged ruins are a direct physical link to their Tiwanaku and Inca ancestors, reinforcing the sacredness of the place and the deep, unbroken connection they feel to this high-altitude sea. The discovery has transformed the lake from a place of myth into a place of proven history, a submerged cultural landscape of global importance. Legends whisper of an Inca city below, but the truth revealed a civilization far older. The discovery of the Tiwanaku temple complex beneath Lake Titicaca has rewritten the history of the Andes. It has proven that ancient legends can hold kernels of truth, and that the earth and water can preserve the secrets of the past for 1,000 years. Yet, for all that has been found, the mystery is far from solved. The sheer scale of the lake means that what has been explored is only a tiny fraction of what might lie hidden. What other structures, what other artifacts, what other stories are still waiting in the silent darkness? Lake Titicaca has shared one of its great secrets, but its deepest mysteries remain, guarded by the cold, sacred water at the top of the world. Off the coast of modern Alexandria, beneath the restless waves of the Mediterranean, lies a lost world. It is a kingdom of silence and shadow, a place of myth made real. For here, entombed by time and tide, is the royal palace of one of history's most formidable and fascinating rulers, Cleopatra VII. For centuries, it was a legend, a ghost story whispered by sailors navigating the busy harbor. But today, thanks to the tireless efforts of underwater archaeology, we are pulling back the curtain of water and time. We are rediscovering the seat of power from which a queen defied an empire, a place of unimaginable luxury, profound intellect, and fatal romance. This is the story of Cleopatra's sunken palace, a world lost for nearly 2 millennia, now rising from the depths. To understand the palace, we must first understand the city it commanded. In the 1st century BCE, Alexandria was the incandescent heart of the Hellenistic world, a cosmopolitan metropolis that eclipsed even Rome in its cultural and intellectual brilliance. Founded by Alexander the Great, it had become the capital of the Ptolemaic dynasty, a lineage of Greek pharaohs who ruled Egypt for 3 centuries. Its magnificent harbor, dominated by the legendary Pharos Lighthouse, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, welcomed ships from every corner of the known world. They brought not just goods like grain, papyrus, and spices, but also people, ideas, and knowledge. The city was a crucible of cultures, where Egyptian, Greek, Jewish, and Roman traditions mingled in its bustling streets and grand public squares. At its very center was the Museum, a temple to the Muses, which housed the great library of Alexandria. This wasn't merely a collection of scrolls, it was the world's first and greatest research university, a place where geniuses like Euclid, Archimedes, and Eratosthenes mapped the heavens, defined geometry, and calculated the circumference of the earth. This was the city Cleopatra inherited, a beacon of civilization, a center of immense wealth, and a political powder keg on the edge of the burgeoning Roman Empire. And at the heart of this magnificent city lay the Royal Quarter, a sprawling complex of palaces, temples, and gardens that occupied nearly a quarter of Alexandria. The most exclusive part of this district was built on the island of Antirodos, a private sanctuary for the Ptolemaic rulers, connected to the mainland by a causeway. This was Cleopatra's personal domain. Here, she constructed a palace that was a breathtaking statement of her identity and ambition. It was not merely a residence, it was a theater of power. The architecture was a masterful fusion of two worlds. Grand Hellenistic colonnades with Corinthian capitals stood alongside towering pylons inscribed with Egyptian hieroglyphs. Courtyards filled with fountains and exotic plants opened into halls where the floors were intricate mosaics, and the walls were adorned with frescoes depicting scenes from Greek mythology and Egyptian theology. Statues of Greek gods like Aphrodite were reimagined with the features of Egyptian deities like Isis, a goddess with whom Cleopatra closely identified, presenting herself as the new Isis on Earth. This was a calculated political and cultural statement. She was not just a Greek queen ruling Egypt. She was the divine inheritor of both traditions, a true pharaoh for a new age. Within these opulent walls, the fate of the Mediterranean world was shaped. The palace buzzed with a constant flow of courtiers, diplomats, scholars, artists, and military commanders. Life here was a dizzying blend of intellectual rigor and decadent indulgence. By day, Cleopatra, a gifted polyglot who was the first of her dynasty to speak the Egyptian language, would conduct the affairs of state. She would meet with advisors, dictate letters to foreign leaders, and manage the vast economy of her kingdom, which was the breadbasket of the Roman world. She was a shrewd and capable administrator, determined to restore the glory of her ancestors. But by night, the palace transformed. It became the stage for legendary banquets, spectacles of almost mythical extravagance designed to awe and intimidate her guests. It was in these very halls that she first captivated Julius Caesar, famously smuggling herself into his presence wrapped in a carpet to plead her case for the throne. And it was here that she forged her legendary and fateful alliance with Mark Antony. Their love affair was also a political partnership, and their court was renowned for its lavish parties and the Society of Inimitable Livers, a private club dedicated to a life of pleasure and spectacle. Yet, beneath the glittering surface of feasting and romance, a current of deadly intrigue always flowed. This was a world of conspiracies, poison, and betrayal, where survival depended on intelligence, charisma, and absolute ruthlessness. For all its splendor, Cleopatra's palace was built on geologically unstable ground. The coastline of Alexandria has always been vulnerable to seismic activity, a threat the ancient builders were aware of but could not truly defend against. The end did not come with the conquering legions of Rome, but with the unpitying force of nature itself. In the centuries following Cleopatra's death and the Roman conquest of Egypt, a series of devastating earthquakes rocked the region. The first major tremors likely struck around the year 365 CE. We can imagine the scene, a low, terrifying rumble from deep within the earth. The ground begins to shake violently. In the palace, priceless statues topple from their pedestals. Mosaic floors crack and heave, and stone columns groan under the strain. Panic erupts as people flee into the courtyards, only to see the waters of the harbor itself behaving strangely. The sea recedes unnaturally, exposing the seabed in a silent, ominous prelude. And then, the inevitable consequence: a tsunami. A colossal wall of dark water, born from the seismic upheaval, rises on the horizon and rushes toward the shore. It smashes into the harbor walls and the island of Antirodos with unimaginable force. The lower levels of the palace are inundated in an instant. The foundations, already weakened by the earthquake, begin to liquefy and give way. The entire island, with its glorious palaces, temples, and gardens, begins to sink beneath the waves. Over the next 1,000 years, subsequent earthquakes and the slow, relentless process of subsidence would complete the work, pulling the last vestiges of Cleopatra's world down into the depths, until it vanished completely from sight. The royal quarter was gone. Swallowed by the sea, it passed from history into legend. The Alexandria of Cleopatra was buried under a new Roman city, which in turn was buried under the cities that followed. The exact location of Antirodos was lost. For over 1,600 years, the palace existed only in the descriptions of ancient writers like Strabo, who had walked its halls and marveled at its beauty. Fishermen in the eastern harbor would sometimes pull up strange carved stones in their nets, fragments of a forgotten age, but the source remained a mystery. The palace became a phantom, a symbol of lost grandeur, its treasures guarded by the silent, murky waters of the Mediterranean. The search for this lost world began in earnest in the 1990s, led by the pioneering French underwater archaeologist, Frank Gaudio. Armed with the ancient texts and the most advanced technology of the day, Gaudio and his team began a systematic survey of Alexandria's eastern harbor. They used sophisticated tools like side-scan sonar and nuclear magnetic resonance magnetometers, which allowed them to peer through the centuries of accumulated silt and sediment that blanketed the seabed. For months, the work was slow and frustrating. The harbor floor was a confusing jumble of modern debris and natural rock formations. But then, the instruments began to reveal tantalizing patterns: straight lines, right angles, and large, regular shapes that were clearly not natural. They had found the ghostly footprint of a lost city. The team of divers descended into the cold, murky water, their powerful lights cutting through the gloom. Visibility was often less than a meter. They were diving not just into the sea, but into the past. What they found was breathtaking. As the divers carefully cleared away the layers of sand and mud with suction tubes called airlifts, an entire cityscape began to emerge from the seabed. They found the foundations of massive buildings, paved roads, and the remains of the ancient port. And among the ruins, they discovered a treasure trove of artifacts, frozen in time at the moment of their destruction. Colossal statues lay on the seafloor like fallen gods. They uncovered 2 massive sphinxes, one of which is believed to represent Cleopatra's father, Ptolemy the Ruthened. They found statues of priests of the goddess Isis, their stone forms covered in marine life. They discovered perfectly preserved sections of pavement, red granite columns, and even smaller, more personal items: imported ceramics, bronze ritual vessels, and gold coins bearing the profile of Cleopatra herself. Each object was a tangible link to that lost era. One of the most poignant discoveries was a pair of small statues, thought to represent Caesarion, Cleopatra's son by Julius Caesar, and another of her children with Mark Antony. Seeing these figures emerge from the silt is a profoundly human moment, a reminder that this grand historical stage was also a home, and its inhabitants a family, torn apart by war and tragedy. The process of excavation is incredibly delicate. Each artifact must be carefully mapped, documented, and then painstakingly lifted to the surface, where the long and complex process of conservation can begin, protecting them from the ravages of exposure to air after millennia underwater. Finding these artifacts is only the beginning. The true challenge lies in understanding how they all fit together. By combining the precise GPS mapping of every column, statue, and foundation stone on the seabed with the descriptions from ancient texts, archaeologists can now do something truly remarkable. They can resurrect Cleopatra's palace in the digital realm. Using sophisticated 3D modeling software, they can virtually rebuild the sunken quarter. The scattered column drums are restacked to their original height. The toppled statues are placed back on their pedestals. The ghostly outlines on the sonar screen are transformed back into the grand colonnades, temples, and courtyards that Strabo described. This digital reconstruction allows us to walk through the palace once more. We can see how the blend of Egyptian and Greek styles created a unique architectural language. We can stand in the courtyard where Cleopatra may have met Antony and imagine the world-changing conversations that took place there. It is a form of time travel, made possible by the marriage of ancient history and cutting-edge technology. The discovery of Cleopatra's sunken palace is more than just one of the greatest archaeological finds of our time. It is a rediscovery of a pivotal chapter in human history, brought vividly to life. The ruins on the seabed are a powerful, physical testament to the grandeur of her reign and the cataclysmic forces that brought it to an end. They remind us that even the most powerful empires can be reclaimed by nature, that the most magnificent structures can be reduced to rubble. But they also show us that nothing is ever truly lost. The story of Cleopatra, the brilliant, ambitious, and ultimately tragic queen, has captivated the world for 2,000 years. Now, as we explore the silent, water-filled halls of her home, we can connect with her story in a more profound and tangible way than ever before. Her palace may lie beneath the sea, but her legacy, like the treasures now being brought into the light, endures.
The ocean, a realm of immense power and profound mystery, covering more than 70% of our planet. For millennia, we have sailed its surface, charting its coastlines, harnessing its winds, and fearing its wrath. But beneath the waves, in the crushing pressure and eternal darkness of the deep, lies another world. A silent, sprawling museum holding the keys to our collective past. The ocean holds not just sunken cities, but untold treasures waiting to be found. It is estimated that over 3 million shipwrecks are scattered across the world's seabeds, each one a time capsule, a frozen moment of disaster that preserves a story of life, trade, technology, and ambition from a bygone era. These are not just piles of rotting wood and tarnished metal. They are the most intact, unfiltered glimpses we have into the daily lives of our ancestors. They are the lost chapters of human history, sealed away by the sea, waiting for the day they can be read once more. For as long as we have dared to cross the water, we have lost ships to its fury. A sudden squall, a navigational error, the brutal reality of ancient naval warfare, each catastrophe created a snapshot of a world now vanished. The vessel, its crew, its precious cargo, all consumed by the abyss. For centuries, these stories were lost, relegated to myth and legend. But in the spring of 1900, a group of Greek sponge divers, blown off course by a storm in the Aegean Sea, took shelter near the remote island of Antikythera. When the storm passed, they dived, not for sponges, but for a glimpse of the unknown seabed. What they found would change our understanding of the ancient world forever. One diver, Elias Stadiatis, surfaced in a state of shock, babbling of a heap of. They recovered breathtaking bronze and marble statues, including the famed Antikythera youth, luxurious glassware, and a fortune in pottery. It was a haul worthy of a king. But amidst the celebrated works of art and obvious riches, there was one object that was largely ignored. A corroded, calcified lump of bronze, mistaken for a rock or a piece of armor. It sat for months in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, an unassuming casualty of the sea. Then, one day, it broke apart, revealing something extraordinary within, a complex assembly of interlocking gears and precision dials. This was the Antikythera mechanism. Nothing like it was known to exist from the ancient world. For decades, scientists and historians struggled to comprehend its function. Using advanced imaging technology like X-ray and CT scanning, researchers have painstakingly pieced together its purpose. It was an astronomical calculator of breathtaking genius, an ancient analog computer. With its complex system of over 30 bronze gears, it could predict the positions of the sun, moon, and planets, model the irregular orbit of the moon, and even forecast solar and lunar eclipses. It was a complete cosmos in a box, a level of mechanical engineering and scientific sophistication that would not be seen again for over 1,000 years. The mechanism single-handedly rewrote the history of technology, proving that our ancient ancestors possessed a far greater command of science and engineering than we had ever dared to imagine. The real treasure of the Antikythera wreck wasn't the statues, but this small, corroded device that held the genius of the ancient cosmos. Discovering such wonders is no longer a matter of chance. Today, the hunt for lost ships is a high-tech endeavor. Marine archaeologists have become deep-sea detectives, using an arsenal of advanced tools to peer into the abyss. Side-scan sonar paints a detailed acoustic picture of the seafloor, revealing anomalies that could be wrecks. Magnetometers detect the magnetic signature of iron objects, like cannons or anchors, buried beneath the sand. Once a potential site is identified, remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, become the archaeologists' eyes and hands in the deep, sending back high-definition video and collecting initial samples from depths no human could survive. The excavation itself is a painstaking process, more delicate than any dig on land. Every artifact's position is meticulously mapped in 3 dimensions because the context, how objects lie in relation to each other, is as important as the objects themselves. It's a slow, methodical race against currents, corrosion, and the ever-present risk of site degradation. And sometimes, what they find isn't a treasure of technology, but a treasure of trade. In 1982, another sponge diver discovered what he described as metal biscuits with ears off the coast of Uluburun, Turkey. Those biscuits turned out to be copper ingots, part of the richest and most spectacular late Bronze Age shipwreck ever found. The Uluburun wreck, dating to the late 14th century BCE, was a vessel of staggering importance. Over 11 tons of cargo were meticulously excavated over a decade. The ship was carrying 10 tons of copper from Cyprus and 1 ton of tin, the exact ratio needed to produce 11 tons of bronze, the foundational metal of the era. It carried terebinth resin from the Near East, used in perfume, logs of African blackwood, or ebony, from Egypt, cobalt blue glass ingots, the earliest known, and a trove of finished goods, Canaanite jewelry, Mycenaean pottery, swords, and daggers. But perhaps the most incredible find was a small, solid gold scarab, inscribed with the name of the beautiful and powerful Egyptian queen, Nefertiti. This single object, a personal seal or gift, provides an unshakable link to one of history's most famous figures. The Uluburun shipwreck was not just a ship, it was a floating marketplace, a microcosm of the entire late Bronze Age world. Its cargo originated from at least 7 different cultures. It proved the existence of a sophisticated and truly international trade network that flourished more than 3,000 years ago. A Bronze Age global economy connecting empires and peoples in a complex web of commerce. The historical value of this single wreck is immeasurable. It provides more information about the interconnectedness of the ancient world than a dozen dusty archives. It is a testament to the fact that the greatest treasures these wrecks offer are not gold and jewels, but knowledge. Each wreck is a puzzle. The personal belongings of the crew tell us about the people who lived and died at sea. The raw materials and finished goods reveal the arteries of commerce that were the lifeblood of ancient civilizations. The construction of the ships themselves showcases the evolution of engineering and exploration. But these invaluable sites are under threat. Looters and treasure hunters destroy priceless historical context for private gain, while deep-sea trawling and industrial development can obliterate a site before it's ever discovered. It is a race against time to find, study, and protect this submerged heritage. Beneath the waves, countless more stories are waiting. Perhaps another mechanism that will redefine our history, or a ship whose cargo will reveal a lost civilization. The ocean floor is the last great frontier of exploration on our own planet, a dark, silent world that holds the brilliant light of our past, and we have only just scratched the surface.